Welcome everyone, wherever you're listening, where you're viewing GBN. Of course, whether it's classic radio you're listening to or viewing GBN TV. Good morning. I hope all is well with you. Those of you via our social media platforms, as usual, good morning and welcome. Whatever part of your world you're at right now, especially those of you in the U.S. I know Grenada is probably on your mind if you're a Grenadian in terms of the weather condition that you're experiencing. I know. I had spoken to a friend of mine yesterday and was saying, should have been home. I know how you feel. Once again, it's to the point. It's Tuesday, the 24th day of February, 2026. And, of course, it's Opposition Tuesday on today's edition. We have, of course, Mr. Winston Garraway with us this morning. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome back to the program. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Gigi, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. I am doing good, and it's good to be back indeed.
Well, you're certainly welcome, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. And we have lots to talk about today. We're going to dive directly into the conversation this morning. I want to touch some of the current issues that's surrounding our beautiful island these days. When I say surrounding, in terms of what's happening within, we talk about domestic violence and men in particular, how they're showing up and so forth. Grenada has seen some heartbreaking violence against women. What is missing, if I may ask this, what is missing in terms of a national response? We have heard responses been made, from various sectors, from the Prime Minister, the opposition leader, and so forth. We heard general conversation been thrown out. What is missing in terms of that national response?
Well, first of all, Ms. GT, I want to extend my condolences and sympathies to the families that have been affected by these heinous acts. I say heinous because when I read the accounts of people who would have experienced those tragedies, it's painful to say the least. And in time like these, that's when we expect to see leadership at its core, at its best, taking, as you say in the past, the bull by the horns to ensure that we find a path towards creating hope, creating that sense of all is not lost, and we could find our way and to make things happen. And first and foremost, what I think needs to happen at this time is for us to come together. And I'm saying, when I talk about leadership, I remember after NMP came back into office in 2013, and we were steering economic hardship and crisis and just name it. And Prime Minister Mitchell decided to bring together the social partners to have conversations and to find a pathway and to find ways towards mitigating against the prevailing economic hardship that we were faced with. I think this is a moment when leadership should bring all social partners together and to have conversations and to find strategies, develop strategies and pathways towards addressing this. Yes, as you've said, so many have said things. We have had vigils and so forth, and it's like we're reacting to those situations. But mind you, this thing is much more than just a young man taking the life of a woman or violence in the home. It's much more than that. I see this as a total breakdown of what we used to hold as sacred and dear to us, values that transcend beyond those petty little issues, values that bring us together, values that unite us. And I am saying the time has come for us to bring those partners together, and we will find ways towards addressing this. One may look back at what happened in the past. We have had some scourges, some form of violence in the past. We had issues with gangs. And the current political leader of the Union National Party, Sister Emily Pierre, I remember leading the charge as within the Ministry of Youth towards, yes, meeting with church and community leaders and then getting down on the ground and engaging the young men and young women to find what really is fueling this sort of rage and this anger. And you may recall, yes, the Bloods and the Reds and all those sort of gangs, she had engagement. And then we saw a phasing out. I wouldn't say violence was totally eradicated, but we didn't see that explosion like we had prior to this intervention. So I'm thinking the time has come for, one, so social partners, two, for us to engage community leaders, get down on the ground and to find what is fueling this sort of hatred. Because the last murder in, was it somewhere like Putri in that area down there, and I read the account of the bus driver, and I mean, GT, I'm an emotional guy, and it touched me to the core. And I was saying, the driver is recapping what he saw. And it's like he was saying, why didn't I do more? And I want to make an appeal that, yes, we have sex registries, we have this, we're supposed to have, but there should be a secure place where that driver should have been able to call and lodge a complaint and said, I just saw this. It may not be anything, but I'm concerned. So that at least someone on the other end of the line who received this, one, will protect the person who given the information, but two, will summon some form of reaction. Because if he would have done something like this, I believe there would have been and there was a reaction, we might have been able to save the life of that young lady. It is just painful. That is just painful, and as we say, one death is too much, too many, and I will pray the day that we will see this as beyond color, beyond politics, but just see this as for what it is. This is a breakdown that we have to address.
I want to also ask you this, excuse me, beyond the statements, as you said, beyond the statements that were made, the candlelight vigils, what concrete action should men be taking right now, men in particular?
Okay, well, while I was growing up, men used to show up. Yeah, we may have some issues where men didn't stand up with the children, but men used to show up. And there were a number of activities that lend itself towards men being there. And simple things like sport, that used to help towards keeping men on the straight and narrow, as you would say. But I remember, not too long ago, again, the New National Party recognizing that we have an issue with, let's say, anger issues with our young men, and that we had to stem it. We had to find out what was fueling this. And you recognize, in a lot of sense, some of our young men did not finish school. Some, for one reason or another, would have caused them not to be so involved in a lot of activities that we consider to be very uplifting. And so those who would have dropped out and those who may have had some skirmishes with the law, we created avenues for second chances. And one of those avenues were the fostering level-headed youths, FLY. So you may have had some young men who, got incarcerated. But that wasn't the end of their life. And we have had very good success stories of young men who entered this program and recognized that violence doesn't really pay because it creates problems on both sides. The perpetrator and those who are the recipient of violence. And we were able to change the course of a lot of young men, got them into meaningful activities.
But would you say that have worked per se?
Of course it has.
Because then we've seen a scourge of the violence still continues.
Well, so
if that has
is
changed,
those programs available now? That's the question. Are they available? So I'll talk about the fly, but then we had
But
the
then if you look at it, some of the individuals who are committing these crimes, they could have been within the age range where these programs existed. If you're talking about during the New National Party reign in government, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Very much so. And so I am raising it. I'm saying these were interventions that were made towards addressing that problem. And where you've seen the likelihood of young men falling off, you create pathways for them to bring them and you catch them in before it happened, and to help stabilize them. For example, in the Empower, you had a situation where a second chance, giving them opportunity to be trained, and trained and have a vision of what they want to do. Yes, you get a second chance. What enterprise or business you want to establish? And a part of the stipend was retained. And from that, at the end of their training session, that money will be topped up or doubled by the government to help them to procure whatever equipment they needed for the business that they were trained to enter into. These interventions save young men, help to foster development within communities. And the most important thing about it is empowering young men to know that they can earn an honest dollar and be an asset to society. And that's what they want, to be recognized as being an asset.
All right.
And sometimes, yes, they will meet road bumps or roadblocks. But if you're there with the interventions to help them, they will be able to navigate around it. I am asking, are these programs available right now?
Do you think this is a cultural issue? Do you think it's a legal failure? Or is it just a breakdown in terms of enforcement, in terms of some of the crimes that we are seeing taking place?
Well, I would never ever say it's a cultural issue. Violence is violence, and it doesn't matter what race you're from or where you're from. People are exposed to hardship, and some of them turn to violence. And I listen to folks talking about legally we may have failed them, because the young man who committed the rape and then the heinous murder, I think was serving a 33-year sentence. And for 10 years, he was released. And one may say, well, 10 years? Probably just about a third of the sentence, and you release him. What would have caused you to believe that he was totally reformed? And I don't want to be harsh on the committee that is responsible for looking and providing those sort of pardon. You see, some time ago, GT, I used to lead a missionary group into the prison. So every one Sunday in the month, we used to be there and having a service, preaching and singing and just the necessaries. And I'm going to tell you, my sessions will be filled with a lot of young men coming out. Some of them would have been, yes, committed serious crimes. But you saw at the time, and I can't say they were putting on something, you saw from them what came over us as a desire to turn a page. And they did what was expected of them. They showed up, they participate, they gave the testimonies, and you recognize that it's like they have recognized where they went wrong. So I think the committee would look at the entire stay of the people or the young men in the prison, and then make a judgment if they were recommended for early release. But I want to say it's probably time for us to revisit whatever systems we have in place towards looking at and determining when a person is ready for early release. So we need to revisit that. But secondly, we need to have systems or programs in place that when folks are released, they're not just thrown out into the society
So we're talking
and to
about
fend
an
for themselves.
extensive rehabilitation program.
Of course, I think there should be a system where when they come out, they still have to enter into, if it's say it's a workshop or a training session once, twice a week, where, because you have to help to reintegrate them into society. Because, mind you, after you committed a crime, and though you'd have served your time and you come back out,
Doesn't mean that you've changed, right?
I wouldn't go that far. I would say, doesn't mean that society will just accept you as being reformed. So sometimes the pressure is on them as a result.
You have to understand too, though, in small knit communities or countries as Grenada, where the community is closed, people get that impression easily. You understand?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we get the impression, GT went to prison, he spent 10 years, he comes out, I think GT is good. That's the impression we get. You understand? But not knowing what I'm thinking in the back of my mind still. Because I spent because folks would say the individual who committed crime became an avid prisoner. You understand? And well behaved and so, and I see that may have led to the conclusion maybe he should have been released. You understand? So that's why I'm talking about the extensive, rehabilitation. Let me also ask you this. The responsibilities to what responsibility do you think the churches, schools, political leaders and have in shaping how boys especially are raised? I ask this question because folks may say sometimes, it starts at a home and think. I have a different perception in relation to that. And sometimes I don't like to get into the argument because I don't know why folks always seem to blame the home. I just have a different perspective. I know individuals, and I sure you know individuals who were well grounded by their parents, whether they grew up single parent or had both parents there, had the entire extended family there, and what they grew up to become, you may have been surprised. They went to church 7 days a week if their parents went to church 7 days a week, and they may just get to a certain stage in their life, have a different influence for whatever reason, and commit crime. So I don't always take that argument. It starts at the home, and the home where you're bringing and upbringing. I have a different perception to that, and I will hold on to that for myself. But what responsibility do you feel the church, school, and political leaders have in terms of in shaping boys in how they are raised?
Well, okay. First of all, there seems to be an acceptance, even from an early age, where a child may react harshly to whatever situation, be it an animal, be it a sibling, and sometimes we say it's like he instant nonsense. This thing is deeper than just he instant nonsense.
It said it goes back to what does it mean he was not raised properly? Yeah?
Because what this is doing is creating a pathway for him to believe that if he is angry, he can vent and he can take action in his own hand, and that will develop into a big tree that will be difficult to manage. So, in short, yes, the church is playing the role with Sunday school and so forth, but then you may have to ask, are the attendance in Sunday school is as great as we had in the past? And what happened when a child reached to an age and he or she feels, well, I'm big enough, I don't have to go to Sunday school.
I hope you're not raising a comparison with church no one vetted.
No, I'm just saying this is a practical situation. This is happening right now, that you do not have as many young people in the church as before. And if the church has been has been and will continue to be one of the socializing agents in this community to help build moral, build good values and so forth. If that is no longer there, we're gonna have a problem, because the church will be there, but if we do not have the people to instill those values in, we're gonna have a problem there. And then you talk about the role the school has to play, and the school has a very important role. But you said parents may have done their part, and sometimes we blame the home. I don't want to blame anybody, and we shouldn't take the easy way out and blame where the father wasn't there and the mother give way to the child. No. It's time for us to recognize that if we have to develop our young men in particular to become model citizens, we all have to make an investment in their lives. So when you talk about the politicians, we have to make sure that when we speak words that will engender life and to help them to recognize that there is something greater than violence. And sometimes we speak as politicians and say things that we give people a pass. We cuss them off. Nationally, we use those profanities and think it's okay. It's not okay, because that in itself lead to other breakdown in society. So we all have a role to play. Yes, the home. And I thank God for the single mothers who have been working tirelessly to ensure that they provide for the children, but most importantly, to help them to recognize that your life has value. And the value that is attributed to you, or what you attribute to yourself, is what's going to pave the way for you going forward. So if we have young men who do not see themselves as being valuable, we have a breakdown. And what they will give to this society will not be something that we'll be happy about, because in the end of the day, it will create further problem. And these young men, when they grow up to have young children, is a cycle continue to repeat itself.
So now we due for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the point. Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back after the break.
Accelerate.
My name is Dr. Abigail Noel, and I am the head of department at the Accident and Emergency Department. One thing I love about Mount Sinai is their spirit of collaboration. They came in with ideas that have transformed our department in real time. The implementation of ID bands for every patient that comes through the emergency department. That has decreased patient errors. They have implemented defibrillators on every ward. Thus far, 128 staff members have been trained in defibrillator use. The huddle system is basically small meeting with all team members. It improves communication between staff members as well as with patients. This transformation means everything to the emergency department and by extension the health system of Grenada.
Athletics lovers, it's that time of the year again for the much anticipated Arisa National Athletics Championship, where champions rise. Prepare for 2 exhilarating days of speed, strength, and national pride. Join us at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium for the season's most anticipated event, Saturday 28th February to Sunday 1st March 2026. Watch as Grenada's finest athletes compete for glory in track and field. Experience record-breaking feats, thrilling finishes, and unforgettable moments. Admission, finish line, $30. Main stand, $20. Bleachers, $10. Bring your flags and energy. Celebrate athletics at its peak. Don't Don't miss it. Be part of the action as athletes vie for qualification for the 2026 Carifta Team Arise National Athletics Championship, Saturday, 28th February to Sunday, 1st March 2026.
Argument, don't know.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. It's To The Point for today, Tuesday, the 24th day of February, 2026. With me this morning, we have Mr. Winston Garraway with us this morning, representing the new National Party. Of course, he's the one that will take the responsibility for labor relations within the new National Party. I want to switch the subject matter. We've been a bit extensive on the domestic violence and men showing up and so much. It could be one of those conversations we could have for the entire morning. Okay, there's so much more that we could expand on that. There's that concern of electoral concerns. I hear from time to time your organization, the New National Party, conversation relating to that. There's that growing concern about the state of the electoral list. What exactly are those issues that you folks time to time speak about? When we hear concerns about the electoral list, what is that concern really about?
Okay, so there is, as we know, people will go into the electoral offices to be registered, to become a potential voter whenever the election is so called. But there are established laws that will determine who is qualified to become an elector. And there are concerns that people are being registered and they're not qualified. That's a concern out there.
When you speak of qualified, expand on that a wee bit for me.
Okay, so you have to obviously be a Grenadian citizen.
Yeah.
Or if you're a citizen within the Commonwealth, but you have to be resident in the country for 12 months at least to be qualified.
And that makes you qualified.
Qualified,
to obtain that, to be on the voters list and able to vote. It's a simple process as that.
Yes, as a Grenadian as well, we within the electoral laws, it spoke of where you're ordinarily resident, meaning your place of abode. So if you say your address is Sans Souci St. George, that's where you're ordinarily resident.
Yes.
That's where we hope you would be. But if you only give me this as for electoral purposes, but you live somewhere else, probably outside of Grenada, we have an issue here. So that piece of the law has to be followed as to where you're ordinarily resident. So there are concerns out there, but there are safeguards. The electoral process, the laws provide safeguards to ensure that unqualified people are not on the voters list.
Let me tap into those irregularities, especially when it comes to new registration. Talk to me in relation to that.
Okay, so someone might be living outside of Grenada and decide, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to get registered. And you see my address is River Road, St. George. Because when I come into Grenada, that's where I'm going to be. But after I registered, I leave and I go back.
So you haven't been residing at that particular area for the 12 months as you...
Well, you haven't been ordinarily resident there. That's not your...
For the 12 months.
Yes, that's not your place of abode.
Mm-hmm.
And you register and you move. As I said, there are safeguards that the PPA would have provided to ensure that if one is not qualified to be an elector, to get a name removed from the list. What is provided, and every political party is aware of this, what has to be done when the list is issued, a full list is issued in December. So last December we had a full list with all the registered voters over the years. as well as you're going to have an addendum. So the people who would have registered between September and December will be as an addendum. That's a new registrant. What happens? You're given 7 days after the list was published, 7 days to scrutinize it and to identify what you call anomalies or probably people who are not qualified to be an elector. There are forms provided by the Parliamentary Elections Office that you will fill out and provide to your registration officer. And you do this, and they have a responsibility to now get in touch with that elector that you have contested a challenge. And they have a prescribed time to do this if they didn't find them. And they would have done all the necessary things that the laws would have asked them to do. Then they will have no choice but to remove the name. So the parties or the citizens on a whole, that responsibility is in your hand to scrutinize the list and to ensure that people who are not qualified are not on the list.
So you're saying folks within the New National Party do that from time to time?
Yes.
In terms of making sure these anomalies are taken care of.
Definitely.
Let me also ask you this. I'm assuming you've been hearing the conversation. Your assessment of the electoral office in its current capacity. Speak to me in relation to your assessment.
Okay, so I am I'm a part of the team from the New National Party that interface with the electoral office. So I'm kind of au fait with some of the things that's happening there. You may recall, just before the June 2022 elections, the office and the supervisor then, Mr. Moraine, was on a drive towards having the current voter system, registration system, replaced because it was, and it is, obsolete. But there's a bigger challenge to this. The company that manufactured and sold the system to Grenada held on to the rights of the system. So Grenada don't have rights to change anything on it. But the company is no more. The company would have been dissolved. They interface with either one or two persons from the old company. But there's a bigger problem still. As I said, it's obsolete. So you do not have parts made for this system. The office has a very good technical man who, with his gifting and knowledge and so on, was able to find comparable parts to create patches that will keep the system going. But there is no guarantee that it will hold out. And as we've seen, it breaks down time and time again. And that again poses another problem. So that was when the government changed, we thought, given that the consultation process towards procuring this new system was well advanced, that they would have continued. But it was stopped, and that is where we are at right now. And as I've said, the system constantly breaks down, and when that happens, it basically, young people who want to be registered can't, because
how
the system
serious is this? This is the, because we're hearing about the I've heard the conversation, the electoral equipment and broken down detail as you mentioned. How serious is this?
This is extremely serious, because one of the fundamental rights that a citizen has is a right to cast a vote or ballot in a general election. And for this to happen, his or her name must be on the list. And if the system is not operational and they're unable to register those people, you're now disenfranchising them. You're now taking away their ability to have a say in electing a government that will govern them for the next 5 years. So this is an extremely serious issue. And as I've said, the path was created for this to happen. It didn't happen. We can only just trust that this system is functioning properly, and people who want to be registered can be registered. So when an election is called, those who would have qualified to be elected or electors would be registered.
Do you believe that this particular problem that you speak in terms of the equipment failure, do you believe that could compromise or the integrity of the upcoming elections?
Yeah, big time. Because if I'm qualified to be an elector and I'm not able to vote because my name is not on the list, that obviously will, one, disenfranchising me, taking away my right to be a part of the process, but two, the people can get a government that they didn't so want. Because if there are a number of people who want to be registered and are not able to register, they will not be a part of the process.
From your experience and that you spoke of there being part of the committee that oversees this and so from within the New National Party, should we have an independent audit of the voters list then? If you do think so?
Let's put it this way: the electoral office is an independent body.
Yes.
And I don't think the law supports such an initiative.
Okay.
They are independent. Yes, the Governor General is the one who they interface with, but clearly the supervisor has enshrined rights and privilege within the Constitution of Grenada. So that I don't think will happen. However, the audit is done, I would say daily or monthly, by the political parties who interface with the voters list, and to ensure that the people who are on the list are qualified to be there. So if you're talking about audit, yes, that is the parameters that we have, and we should utilize it.
But would there be concerns about individuals not being properly registered then?
Yes, and with that, as I said, there is a pathway how you go about to challenge this. And the earlier you do it would be better, because this eventually could go to court and the court will decide on the outcome. But the pathway has been created and it's there. Go through the list. I put a face to every name. And if you can't put a face to a name because his surname is, as we say, foreign, not Grenadian, then you can challenge it and take it to the registration officer and let them come and say, no, he or she is bona fide.
Let's talk a wee bit about safeguards. What kind of safeguards should be, in place, to protect, the electoral transparency?
Okay, so I remember in the discussion during the consultation of this new system that was being discussed, there were a number of safeguards because, okay, you have people who are not in the country. They may have showed up to register and then go back out and spend 5 years out there, and when an election show up again to vote. And the system that was discussed was going to be linked with, one, the immigration department. So people coming into the country, if you're on the voters list, will determine if you qualify or not. If you're not in the country, then you know if you are not qualified to be an elector, and would have been synced with the registry and births. So when people die, you would be able to remove their names. Those are some of the safeguards that was being presented to us as this new system would provide. The Parliamentary Elections Office, as far as I know, is still on that path towards procuring this new system. They haven't said to us anything to the contrary, and I want to assume that those safeguards will be there. But the biggest safeguard that you have is your people going through the voters' lists daily, religiously, to ensure that you can identify every name on the list. That's your biggest safeguard.
Okay. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us. It's To The Point, Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back. Don't touch it down.
Looking to shop on... Follow Short Pre for your car stereos and music. Looking to upgrade your ride or replace that Japanese car radio? Prestige Audio is having a big car stereo sale for all vehicles. Toyota, Suzuki, Honda, Nissan, Jeep, and more. We've got you covered. Enjoy free installation at our Lucas Street branch with clean, professional, plug-and-play installs you can trust. Need powerful sound for your church, home, party, or DJ setup? Visit our XL Plaza, Grand Anne's location for PA systems, speakers, mixers, microphones, and car audio built to perform. 2 locations, 1 name you can trust. Visit Prestige Audio today, where sound meets excellence.
A trip to Grenada from April 4th to the 6th, 2026. A decision you'll never regret. This isn't just any destination. It's where passion meets performance. Welcome to the 53rd Carifta Games, hosted at the iconic Kirani James Athletic Stadium in St. George's, under the theme, Passion Drives Performance. The best of the Caribbean's junior athletes will compete in electrifying track and field competition. Organized now and be part of an experience like no other, where talent, passion, and perseverance come alive on the land of 100,000 Jab Jab. Feel the passion, celebrate the performance, and create memories that will last a lifetime in pure Grenada, the land of warmth, spirit, and unstoppable energy. Welcome to the 53rd Carifta Games.
Whenever happy to see me, nobody is strangers. One big family.
Camahorn Boat, a powerful multimedia production presented at Carafesta 15, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs. One big performance only at the Grenada Trade Center on Saturday, 7th March at 7 p.m. The Camahorn Boat is the ship of state, Grenada sailing to its destiny. The Camahorn Boat is a call for unity, an exciting story about patriotism played out by Grenada's best acting talents, featuring Samuel Ogilvie, Robert White, Debbie Gilchrist, Bianchi Toussaint, Dillian Walters, and others. Come out and join us in celebrating our Grenadianness on Saturday, 7th March, 7 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. Admission almost free. Advance tickets are $50, $65 at the door. Your ticket outlets: Giddens Pharmacy Grand Anse, Art and Soul Bookstore, Spiceline Mall, Mitchell's Pharmacy Grand Anse, 3B's Shoe Store, downtown St. George, and other places. Bring out the entire family and enjoy a wonderful evening of Grenadian theater on 7th March at Grenada Trade Center, 7 p.m.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers once again. It's To The Point for today, Tuesday, the 24th day of February. Good morning to one and all once again. Welcome back, Mr. Garraway, and said this,
Yes,
I just want to switch the conversation, switch the mood. Let's look at a bit of the that big picture, that national mood that is all there right now. How would you describe the current mood of Grenadian people from your perspective?
Well, okay, GTA, I'm on the ground. I move around. I interface with people, business people, young people, just name it. And I'm going to tell you, at this point in time, people are saying it's like the country is on pause. It's that dead and so slow. It's on pause. And we need an injection, an economic injection, to have this economy moving again, because a lot of the small businesses that the New National Party would have championed and created avenues for young people to establish businesses and so forth. Some of them are closed because money, as I say, is not circulating in the country. And what is circulating is not enough to keep them going. So, as it is right now, people are crying out, fed up, that more need to be done to ensure that the small man has money in his hands. Because when he has monies, he spends, and those monies circulates. So we, as I said, we need an injection. We need leadership, government to understand how the economy functions. And they have advisors, I guess, as much, telling them. But we were not seeing it. I'm going to tell you, people said, we didn't have Christmas because Christmas was dead. The 15th of January, strange enough, people spent a little more money. They had some money to spend. But around Christmas time, it was that bad.
But do you believe that there's this bit of a trust deficit between citizens and the government right now?
Oh, big time. Trust deficit, big time. A lot of people are saying that they made a mistake. They gave the young man, and they're talking about Honorable Dickon Mitchell, an opportunity, give him a chance, and thought with new, probably fresh ideas, things would have been better. But they made a mistake because things have gotten worse. And that's what they're saying out there. And that in itself is an indictment against the government, because it means that people trusted what you say to them. What was said on the campaign trail, what was given to them in the town hall meetings and so forth. They believed you, and they trusted you to fulfill those promises. And they're saying that the only people who seems to be faring well is the government ministers and people that is very close to this government.
Do you also believe that Grenadians are losing confidence in leadership?
I hope not. I trust not, because we have to, while there will be problems, while there are breakdowns, but we must look up to what good leadership is. And I think people are not, I wouldn't say they're losing confidence in leadership. They have lost confidence in bad leadership, or leadership that has not provided the economic success that they were promised. But people will come out and vote still. People will come out and believe that there are people out there, leaders out there, who will mean what they say and do it. But I accept that people are right now are hurt, demoralized, and feel used and abused because it's like they were taken for a ride. But they recognize that leadership is important.
Are we not speaking doom and doom and stuff like that?
No, they're not. Leadership is important, and when you look at what the Bible says to us is that God established kingdoms. He set up leaders and he pulls down. And in his time, he will do what has to be done and what needs to be done. But at this point, I can only say to our people, hang in there. There is hope. There will be a brighter day coming.
What message do you believe that should leaders be sending right now?
Well, first and foremost, we have to help to unite this nation. There's too much of this, and you hear it. People apply for services And because they're known to be a supporter of the new National Party, they were denied the services. We have to get rid of this tribalism and help to bring people together. I have a lot of friends who do not share my political views. But I believe the friendship comes before this. And that's what we have to recognize. That, first of all, we are human beings, we are Grenadians. We share some common principles and so forth. We may not share the same political ideology, but that don't mean we should become our enemies. So leadership has to help to bring people together. And as we are doing within the National Party, every Wednesday we are out there having meetings because we want to say to people, it's not the end of the road. We are there and we will do better. We will change this. We understand your pain and your plight. We understand the difficulties that you're going through. We have done it before. We have been there and we have been able to revive this economy, and we're going to do it again.
My final question to you in this segment, excuse me, what does a responsible opposition look like in this particular moment that we're at right now? What does a responsible opposition look like?
Responsible opposition is what we're doing right now. Going around the country and telling people, yes, it is difficult, it is hard, but there's a brighter day coming. Help people to see beyond the challenges and the problems that are currently existing and see that with a little more push, we will get over. An opposition that will value people for who they are, not because of who you support. Value people for who they are, and that's what we have been doing. And we have a political leader who has demonstrated this over and was highlighting Nimrod Oliver, who reached out and provided support for someone who is outside of Grenada, had a deadline and met a crossroad, and Nimrod showed up and provided. That's what opposition is there to do. It doesn't matter. We don't ask who you vote for, who you support. You need help, we're going to help you. And that's what we are about. And that's what a good opposition is about.
We due for a break. There will be our final break in this segment. When we come back, we give an opportunity to our listeners and viewers. Of course, both the WhatsApp and the direct line are up and running. 435-2041. We have just approximately 5 minutes or so left on today's edition. But we'll be right back after the break with your phone call. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch your dial.
Grenada, listen up. This one hits different. On Saturday, March 14, it's going down at the Roy St. John's playing field in Tantine with Grenada Auto Fest. More than cars. Go head to head with vintage, antiques, and classics. Bikes, Jeeps, Land Rovers, and custom built machines. All battling for $50,000 in cash and prizes. It's more than a car show. It's a family day. Look out for go-kart racing and bouncy castles. And we climax with Sakina and the Alpha One Band. Plus a special surprise. It's Grenada Auto Fest. Saturday, March 14. It's a vibe you can't miss. Lock the date. Special thanks to our partners, Wagity Rental, True Blueberry Resorts, On The Spot Hardware, and all our category prize sponsors. A trip to Grenada from April 4th to the 6th, 2026. A decision you'll never regret. This isn't just any destination. It's where passion meets performance. Welcome to the 53rd Carifta Games, hosted at the iconic Kirani James Athletic Stadium in St. George's. Under the theme, Passion Drives Performance. The best of the Caribbean's junior athletes will compete in electrifying track and field competition. Organize now and be part of an experience like no other, where talent, passion, and perseverance come alive on the land of 100,000 jab. Feel the passion, celebrate the performance, and create memories that will last a lifetime in pure Grenada, the land of warmth, spirit, and unstoppable energy. Welcome to the 53rd Carifta Games.
Whenever happy to see me, nobody hates me.
Welcome back. We're back with you folks. Our final segment on today's edition of To The Point, which of course we give it to our listeners and viewers. If you do have a question or two, staying within the perimeters of our conversation this morning, feel free, 435-2041. We do have our first caller via the WhatsApp. WhatsApp caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Hey, good morning, GT.
Good morning,
sir. Garraway.
Good morning.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Garraway, you spoken about violence against women, all right? And right now, I'm holding in my phone a picture of you standing with Callistra Fariel on the floor where you shove her down violently. Would you consider that violence against women?
Okay, my brother.
Did you
my brother. My brother. I never touched Callistra. What you saw there, I was praying for Callistra. Okay, so hold on. Get your facts.
Stop the lying. Let us deal with facts now. You shoved down the young lady. You never apologize, and you come here telling us about about violence against women.
Okay, so
another question. Now. My last question to you.
So let me answer you.
Let me ask my question. You're going to answer me after.
No, let me answer you. Let me answer you.
We don't have a back and forth via the minutes, so just let him answer his final question.
Don't take away me 5 minutes.
Caller, go right ahead, please.
55 minutes to talk.
Go right ahead, caller.
55 minutes to talk. Can I speak now?
Caller, go right ahead, please. Go right ahead, please, with your final question.
Mr. Garraway, I want to know, what is your party views on the LGBT community if your party support the gay and lesbian? That's what I want to know.
Thank you, caller. Have a good morning. So respond to the caller's questions now.
So let me just say to you, sir, what the picture you saw there, and as I've said to you, I never touched Callistra. Callistra was on the ground. Whatever caused her to be on the ground, she knows. And I was praying for her. What you don't know, Callistra has been one I was counseling for years. She came to the office, my office, once or twice a week, and I did what I had to do. Sorry I had to bring it out in public. So, praying for her then, what you saw is what I have done in the past for her privately. So let me say further. This matter, I wanted it to go to court. She wanted me to do a private settlement, which I didn't, because I didn't touch her. And we went to court, and the case was dismissed. My brother, when you want to come to me, come with facts. Have a blessed day.
All right, we do have another caller. Caller, I think there was a second question that the caller also asked in relation to LBG2, if your new national party will be in support of that, if you are able to answer that.
Let's go on. Let's go
to another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Go right ahead, please.
All right. Pastor Garraway, good morning. Yes, Pastor Garraway, I want you to tell me something, please. Jesus, God is listening to us. God is listening to us. And you as a pastor, I feel you could do better than what you're doing. Stop bamboozling people and making a Mickey Mouse out of people. You understand it? Jesus is listening. God is listening to us. And you're going on a pulpit and say you're preaching to a nation and to convince people.
Caller, let's move on. Let's move on, please, caller. Let's go to another caller. Caller via the WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I don't know if we sometimes listen to ourselves when we speak. And I don't know if we understand what is honesty and dishonesty in terms of our intellectual capacity. But I heard from a gentleman, Garraway, said that, it is difficult to bend a tree when it is old. So it means that he understands clearly that you have to do what it takes to train and discipline people at a very early age. You can't do it when they're 18 and when they're 45 years old or 35 with regard to crime. So obviously, there is a failure in the system, whether it be the home, the church, or the institution of education which is managed by the government. And his government has been there for 23 years. So, Brother Garraway, you all did not bend the tree. But if there is a problem, and you identify the problem, could you use the same person or the same method to solve it? Well, I think a government has been there for 23 years. And the Grenadian public recognized that there were serious problems. And they decided to create a change. You're telling us now that you need to go back? Or you intend to go back? You could solve the problem? Probably what we need is something new. I may not agree with that, but probably what we need is something new. Mr. Garraway, when it comes to the question of the economic situation in Grenada, $20 million spent every year on cutting bush can never be a good thing for the economy. When you speak about the small man has to be taught from an early age to start business. He has to be taught at a very early age what it takes to ensure that you have qualified people, not necessarily with certification, but qualified in the construction industry, for example. But has your government opened up 1 or 2 or 3 technical schools to help our young people? Stop the intellectual dishonesty. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Respond to the caller,
so first and foremost, you said that NNP was in office for 23 years. The NDC was in office for 15 years as well. So if you want to attribute blame or so, both parties had responsibility of governing this country. So that's the first thing. So never ever come back saying 23 years. You forgot the NDC was there for 15 years as well. As it relates to managing an economy, you should leave that to the people who are skilled in this area. Clearly, if you're going to spend $20 million on the small man in the country, and let me break down the fallacy that you have just established. $20 million, and the small man spend part of those monies in the village shops. And the village shops, when they get this, they can purchase more goods and services or supplies. And then we will see an increase in importation because monies have been circulating. The small businesses that you talk about is what I said experiencing problems right now. Because while not everybody will be able to establish a business, those who have, and thank God for them, they will need the support of those who do not have a business to ensure that the business survive. But the $20 million you spoke about, when that is removed from the small man, or removed from the economy, what happens? Those very small businesses you're talking about are struggling right now. So we need to revisit this. And why is it that when the NNP is in office, we see growth and development amongst our young people, amongst our village shops, or villagers, and small business people and so forth? We see growth and development amongst them. But whenever NDC comes into office, we see a reversal. Why? Managing an economy calls for prudence and people with the skills and knowledge, but most of all, people who care and love people. And when you do that, you will always ensure that you provide the environment where they can survive in whatever sphere they decide that they want to function in. Be it they want to go and fish, they want to go and hunt, they want to do a beauty salon, they want to do a barber shop, they want to just do landscaping, whatever it is, they will survive because there will be a community with resources to support the initiative.
And we do have another caller via the WhatsApp. WhatsApp, your live. Go right ahead, please.
Good morning, GT, and good morning, Mr. Garraway.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Mr. Garraway, I do know you very well because we went to GBSS together. First and foremost, I want to advise you that as a counselor do not breach the confidentiality clause and go in public and disclose certain things that he or she has no right to disclose. Now, there are things that you're speaking about counseling that I know in regards to how you deal with certain situations with the young folks that is incorrect. Now, I'm aware I'm totally aware that persons who would have applied, who were teaching in the education system under the NNP, applied to go and study psychology. And they were told that there's a field that they need not go and study because it didn't make any sense here in Grenada. Now, everybody's in the need for psychologists. And what you find happening is that social scientists coming out of the conversation are not those that can help. And so what you find happening is that they're making the situation worse rather than making the situation better in some of the cases. Now, if you telling me that you're going to come and counsel a person and then you're going to go on the radio, national radio, and tell everybody that I was counseling a person and so I was praying for them, that of itself is making a situation worse. And if that is what we're going to get, we need not base anything. And then for people cannot trust you now to go to you for anything, because that's what we expect that you would do. So right away, I think you would have actually discounted yourself as a counselor, someone who they can come to in confidence and speak anything to or for, whether it's a pastor or not. That is out the window, because you would have breached that clause. Now, I heard a lot of talks you would have spoken a lot about the facts. I'm not even going to deal with the economic facts because
we are a bit strapped for time, so I wanted to be brief for the next point you're making. I'm going to be brief. Yeah. Even with the economic sense, where you're talking about in respects to the debushing would have helped the economy, you have to invest in the productive sector. Debushing does not create an increase in the GDP to cause the productive sector to grow. So basically, I know that business may not have been your forte, but don't go into that conversation and make statements in regards to how the economy works. Also, I must indeed say that with respect to the voting public and the perusing of the voting class, now when persons actually talk about they're going home to vote during a number of years when the NNP became elected, persons would have said the plane load scheme. I don't know. I'm just saying what persons would have said. I'm just offering that up on the table. So when you come here now and talk about what needs to be done and what needs to be done, first, brother, look in the mirror and then tell me what you see, and then we will know what you see, and we would recognize what should be and what should not be. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you, sir. Have a good day yourself. Respond to the call. So beg of you to be brief.
First and foremost, I never disclosed any discussion I've had with the young lady. I only said what you saw, I was praying for her, and it's what I have been doing in private. There's nothing as to confidentiality being thrown out of the window. So, my brother, you didn't speak the truth there on me, okay? And as it relates to, let me leave this there. You have your opinion. I wouldn't go against it. You said you come on national TV and said that you heard something that people say that plane would come. Bro, that's a non-starter. You come on national TV to sprue hearsay and what could be lies. You don't do such. You speak of facts. And when you tell me about the debushing, I didn't raise the debushing. I talk about providing services throughout the country. I can't raise it, but I can speak to it. And I'm going to tell you, in terms of the economics in the country, that program helped the small shops keep families together, ensure that young people had a meal. Today, it's not there as it used to, and those small shops are closed. So if you say about growing the economy and it didn't provide to the GDP, go back and check your economic sense and ensure that what you're saying is facts. But I can say to you, it's not. Because I'm living it right now. I've seen shops that have closed. I'm probably open once or twice a week because people don't have the money to spend.
Mr. Garraway, I want to thank you a whole lot for being on today's edition of To The Point. Pleasure as always to have you on the show, sir. Anything in closing before we take a wrap this morning?
Well, I want to go back to the beginning of the conversation as it relates to gender-based violence and what we're seeing in the country. And yes, it's a period that we have to soul search. And I want to invite families to spend time in prayer with the family or the children. We need to go back to those things that would have caused us to gel together as a family. And to be able to identify when a member of the family seemingly is going off. Because we have too many of our young people being caught in the scourges of violence, crime and violence, and we need to address this. Yes, I do agree that there is need for counseling and so forth. Reach out, be it your pastor, be it your priest, a community leader, and they may, if they can't help, they will direct you as to where to go to find help. But let us be there for each other. Let's be our brother's keeper. Have a great one.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Garraway, and of course, wish you all the best for the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Hey, folks, that's what we're going to take a wrap. That's what we're going to take a wrap for today's edition. Join me again tomorrow, once the Almighty permits. I'll be here to take care of another edition of To The Point. Have a good one, folks. That's what we say goodbye.